Well, welcome to Rendering Insights. In this video, we're going to be drawing a super cool race engine. And in this case, it's a top fuel motor from a legendary dragster. All right, well, if you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe below. Okay, this is the drawing we're going to be doing. This is one of Don Perdome's dragsters from back in the day, and it's a super cool ride. I've always loved this thing. This engine has this amazing amount of detail. I don't know what I was thinking trying to draw this thing, but we're going to walk through it little by little. We're going to do the line work in Adobe Illustrator and then bring it into Photoshop and build this rendering layer by layer. All right, let's get started. Okay, here we are in Adobe Illustrator. The way we started this drawing, I found a photograph online that had a good close-up view of this motor, and I just loved it. So I went ahead, scanned that thing in, and with our pen tool in Illustrator, went ahead and drew each of these details. I did all this thing on one layer. I mean, there is an insane amount of detail in this motor. But you know what? It was a challenge. So little by little, we just drew each one of these. I mean, you can get in here pretty tight. All these nuts and bolts and Allens and everything in here is crazy. All this linkage. Just kind of took my time and drew each one of these things till we got what we wanted on this drawing. All right. You know, it takes as much time to draw the lines as it does to render this, probably a lot more. Even on this lettering on this logo, I went ahead and drew this with the pen tool, just stick drew this line by line, copying what was on the photograph. This logo is not exactly like it was on the car, but it's close and it has the same look. And I went in and threw the color in here in Illustrator, and also the top of this Valvoline logo, drew that in Illustrator and put those colors in. Same up here. This logo is not exactly supposed to be a lion, but I just wanted to do something that will look similar so it wouldn't distract from the rest of the drawing. The only other thing we did on a separate layer was one more copy of this windshield. So after we do our color work, we can drop that windshield layer on top and look through that. So let's get rid of all these other lines. See that? Okay, that's it. We're going to bring our line work into Photoshop and get started. Okay, here we are in Photoshop. We have brought in our line work from Illustrator. To start with, let's go ahead and make 6 copies of this line work. So drag it over on the side down to that little plus sign and make 6 duplicate layers. On the very bottom layer, we're going to go ahead and do a white fill on all this. All right, so that's what that looks like. We need that base white to build our colors on top of. A lot of them we're going to cover up, but a lot of them we're going to leave, so we're going to have that white show through and become part of our highlights on some of these pieces. Okay, on our next line layer, we're going to open up and start putting in all of our base colors. All right, there we go. Now, there's a lot of different colors in here, but using your photograph as your reference, we've gone in here and just looked at these warm gray tones. They're a little bit different, you know, from this blower down here to these heads. And look at all these details in here, this belt, these pulleys and everything. So we're just kind of duplicating what these colors look like. Now from the photograph, I've changed some of the detail on this intake scoop in here, but it just works better for the drawing. But on this linkage, all these gold parts, say we're going to render these up and put some shading on them, but it gives us a good foundation color, all these plug wires, everything. Also on this layer, you can see on this lettering. Now on the photograph, on the original car, there was this really cool gold leaf lettering, which is so killer. And a while back I had done some gold leaf painting on something, and I took a picture of it, and I used that picture, brought it into Photoshop, and put it behind this layer. And actually my photo wasn't that big, so I had to put this in a couple different pieces, duplicated it, and let that gold leaf photo peek through the opening in my lettering here. Again, so I've dropped in the colors, this kind of beige color in here and these other colors around. We already had our line work on our black, and that gold leaf just shone through. Same with up front here. And it just gives that cool look like killer gold leaf. All right. Something else we've done, I can get in here a little closer. On this valve cover, there are a lot of details in the valleys on the top of this valve cover. So just to help give it some depth, this red in real life is one color, but on the top side colors, we put this light red in here and the dark red on all the sides. See that? And right away it already renders it and gives us a bit of a 3D effect before we've done any shading at all. In our base colors, look on some of these bolts. Didn't do it on everything, but some of these we put in some different tones of warm gray or brown just to start giving some perspective in there. Okay, this definitely has kind of a coloring book look to start with, even though we have our anodized fittings kind of already started in there. But little by little we'll start doing our shading, and this will start looking better all the time. Okay, we're going to open up our next line layer and start doing some shadows. All right, that looks like a lot of detail, and it is. But if you think about it, you're getting in here in this layer, and with your magic wand tool, selecting each panel one at a time. Is it monotonous? You bet. You're getting in here and selecting this section right here, getting your black, and just brushing in down below, brushing in a little above, and then right there behind this side of this pulley, okay? Getting in here with this section. What's that going to look like? Look at your drawing or your photograph, your reference, brush in some black, which would be your shadow, and a little bit over here. Like on this bolt, remember we already have our base color in here, that gold. But little by little, like say you select just the top of this head, you put in a little black tone here, get a little smaller brush, black on the edge there, and a little bit of white on top, creating some highlight. See what that does? It just changes everything. You treat each one of these sections the same. Looking at your photograph, you just start rendering it. Look at this tube. It's just a simple light tan fill in there. We select this, take our gray, we put a little bit of shadow, a little darker shadow underneath, and then it looks pretty realistic. On this valve cover, left this white in here for right now. Just brushed in this kind of gray blue on top. And this is tricky, trying to render the reflection on these breathers. Oh my goodness, it'll make your head hurt thinking about it. So I've just kind of allowed this little white section here, and we'll deal with that more in some of the other layers. Just start playing with some shadows. Remember, when you're looking at your photograph, it's kind of like a cheat sheet. You know what it's supposed to look like. Now, you can interpret it a little bit different, but at least it gives you a good guide to start with. And on this intake scoop, there was some crazy reflections of some other things that look great on the photograph, but it would not look good on the drawing. At least I didn't think so. So I had to simplify this a little bit. So I kind of made this up. Before we did that, see, it's just white up there. So literally, I just took some gray, white brush here, and got a little tighter with a little bit darker gray that might reflect this blower in here, and then just brushed in some blue, little shading on the side, and it looks pretty good. It looks like chrome or polished stainless or something. Maybe it's aluminum, I don't know. All right, these butterflies the same. You get in here, put this gray, and then brush in your shadows, and just little by little, getting in here tight and rendering each little piece. These Allen heads, see that? Looks crazy, looks like a lot of work, and it is. You just select one at a time and just start playing with color. Start brushing in some black, and when you get all done, kind of a little bit of white on top in that selected layer. Okay, on our next line layer, we're going to do some more shadows and start richening this thing up even more. Okay. Again, you need to be patient and just attack each section at a time. If you look at the whole thing, it's overwhelming. Um, Definitely an Excedrin moment. But if you look at it little by little, like leaving the tire, see, selected, we had that kind of a cool gray in here, but it selected each panel and brushed in kind of a warmer, almost brown gray color. See that? Starting to render that a little bit. This roll bar, even on that steering wheel, that butterfly wheel, starting to render that little by little. Look at the shading on these headers. Now we just have this white color in here, but starting to shade that. And I use a little different shade, a little warmer tone down below because it is the ground down here somewhere, a little cooler up above. Not so much the sky, but just picking up all these mechanical parts. So little by little. Okay. On our next line layer, and I believe I got a couple more. We're going to do just a little bit more shadows. So you see, you got to keep creeping up on this. That's the benefit of making all these duplicate line layers. If you don't use them all, great, but you have them there if you need them. Okay. On this one, I actually started doing some highlights and some shadows. Like look up front here. Started selected this area in here and started building in all these shadows in here. And look above. We already, on the previous layer, we put in some of these crazy reflections from the sky. Sometimes you get going on one section, man, I want to go ahead and finish that section. You can do that. Move ahead with your layers in that section and render it out. And then come back and work on the rest. Start working in here with more shadows. Look up above, up in here. Really darken that up. Made that look much more realistic. And on these pulleys, remember we had this, our gray shading, and it looks pretty good, but we need a little more highlight in there. See what that does? Makes that come to life. Even on our wires, they look pretty good being red, but they just needed a little bit of highlight on top. We already put some little bit of shading on the bottom of those, but it really helps. And look at the shadows we've put in these header tubes. Okay, because they're laying on top of each other, so that just helps it look more like they are. Now on this belt from the factory, there's some printing on here. I don't even know what it says, but I kind of want to put something that looked like that. So this is what I came up with, and literally it is on a separate layer, not a line layer. I got in real tight and just did a scribble. It is literally a scribble, and I copied it, pasted it, and just kind of duplicated it. Did the same thing here, did a weird thing, and copied it, and prove what I'm saying. See, it's nothing. Doesn't say anything, doesn't mean anything, but there is some printing on the belt, so we're going to put it on our drawing. Just enough to make you not think about it or wonder if it's real or not. All right, last two line layers. This one we're going to do some more shadows and some reflections. Now, look at these shadows. Really start darkening things up. Contrast is your friend here. Look on these tubes. Really got dark in here. But I like it. I just think it looks so much better. Even on this belt. You know, we put this printing on here, whatever that is, but it's going to disappear behind this pulley. So it's going to get pretty dark. So let's darken that up. And remember this reflection up here on this breather? Wasn't sure what we were going to do. Literally just looked at this breather, looked at the photograph, and just started playing on this layer. Got your brush tool out and just started experimenting what a reflection might look like. And I like it. It's just enough to work where it looks like you're seeing a reflection up there. Okay. On our last line layer, we're going to go ahead and do a few more details. Now, we're getting down to getting picky on here, but look on this valve cover. We did a couple things. Look on this top edge here. It looked a little bit too stark. So we start brushing in, remember, selecting this area, and right at the top, taking this color and considering that we'll probably get some reflection off the top of that. So let's just go ahead and brush in that color up there. Not much, just enough to make it look like it really is sitting up there next to this blower. Okay, and then down below, remember it was just white in here, but it's like a big mirror up here, so we are going to get a little bit of light reflection from the sky. We already put some up top here, just thought it needed it here, so there that blue is. And notice it's not all the way across, but just playing with it. Okay, that is most of our drawing. Now we have a few little details. We're going to put in some highlights on top. Look what that does. Gone in here, this isn't on a line layer. We've used all those. With our white paint and our brush tool, we've gotten in here and just put some little reflections here and there and on those fins, right on that edge. It really just helps make that pop a little bit, even on our fasteners. Kind of went crazy because we have a million fasteners to highlight in here, but it just does a lot. Little things. All right. Okay. Last couple things we're going to do. I dropped in my nickname on here because I can. So there you go. And then do you remember that windshield layer that we did in Illustrator? We did it on a separate layer. We're going to bring that in now. And we probably could have done that on this top line layer, but I'll bring that in a separate layer, drop it on top, and brush in some white in there so you can still see through it. See what I've done? It's pretty harsh here, but you're going to get a shadow from this big tire, this big rear tire in here. So have a reflection here and let that fade out going across the windshield. Even that edge, I didn't like that hard black edge on top. Okay. The only thing left is just the hint of the Goodyear logo on this rear tire. Looking at photographs and trying to figure that out. Kind of used, it's more of the yellow logo on some of the tire. I don't think on this car it had that, but I just like it. So it says go. The last thing we're going to do on here are some little reflection stars. So in Illustrator, we've made these little reflection stars and then brought them in here, and I've just put them in one layer. And there's not many of them. There's one on the valve cover here. Look up on this intake. I like what those do. Just makes the car sparkle a little bit because this car is, like I say, super cool. All right, there is our basic drawing. Now for the background, just want to do something simple. We're going to do a gradation from a little bit of a medium to dark blue down to a lighter blue and just see what that does back here. All right. Okay, there is our rendering of this race motor. Hope you enjoyed that. Well, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful in any way, please check out our other videos available on Rendering Insights.